welcome to this week's look at something productivity related. So this week I wanted to look at, does writing to-do lists actually work? And if not, what should you be doing instead? If you're new around here, I'm Natalie Mayer, productivity coach at All in Good Time. So I help women who are juggling work, family, home and all the other stuff. I help them to create a more calm, organised and fulfilling life, to help them get organised, be productive in order to achieve that. So I am just going to very quickly bring up my notes, which I had done earlier, but when I went live, it was refusing to switch on my camera. I think it was probably still logged into Zoom. And when I logged out of everything to get the camera working, I also logged out of all the notes that I brought up in preparation. There we go. So let me just unpin that. Here we go. There we go. So, does writing a to-do list actually work? And the clue is in, hi there Karen, is in the title, to do. So if you are not doing the things on your to-do list, and feel free to share in the replay if that's ever happened to you, if you're not getting those things done, then obviously there's something not quite right about writing to-do lists. Yes, they're a list of things that you'd like to get done, but liking, wanting, wishing isn't the same as actually making them happen. You know, in fact, some of the things that are sitting on there may have been sitting on there a bit longer than you'd care to admit. And I totally get why we all write to-do lists. It gives a feeling of control. It's like that, it's there. I'm definitely, if I've written it down, it's going to be done. And it gets off your brain, so you don't have to keep thinking, oh, must remember to do this, must remember to do that, must remember to do the other. But writing it down doesn't make it happen. So what is it that gets in the way? Well, there's a couple of things really. I mean, if you're writing it down to get it off your brain, that's a brain dump, not a to-do list. A to-do list comes with being specific about how long things take and when you're going to do them and marrying those sorts of things up. But there's another aspect that I want to look at today, and that's the difference between a project. Oh, hi there Emma, hi there Linda. Sorry, the comments weren't scrolling until I suddenly saw that it had a 4 next to it, and I thought, how come it says 4 when there's only one comment there? So Emma, you're saying you've had some things on your to-do list for weeks. Let's see whether what I'm going to share today resonates at all, and obviously I'm going to give you a tip to kind of get things moving. So one of the things that happens is that what we put on our to-do lists aren't actually tasks. They're projects, but we don't think of them as projects. When we hear the word project, we very often think of much more of a corporate sense of the word. You know, multidisciplinary teams, cross-functional budgets and all that good stuff, Gantt charts and meetings that go on for hours. But for our purposes, a project is anything where to reach the outcome actually involves several subtasks. And I'm going to give a practical example just to make it more obvious what I mean by this, and then we'll go through how it's tripping you up, what you can do, etc. So it might be that you have something like get the carpets cleaned on your to-do list, and it does, on a surface level, it does feel like that's a task. You can kind of visualize it being done. You can visualize the carpet cleaner with all their gear, you know, working away up there, up round your lounge, up your stairs or whatever. But actually, there are more tasks to it than that. So when you get to it on your to-do list, it's very tempting to just keep moving past it. So I'll come back to that in a moment. So let's just work this specific example through. So if I said, right, organise it now, you'd be like, well, I don't know any carpet cleaners. So first step, I need to find out about some carpet cleaners. So how am I going to do that? I could go to something like Checkatrade or one of the other referral, or does Yellow Pages still exist, that sort of thing. I could Google it. I could post on Facebook to see if any of my friends have got a recommendation. So that's the first step. The first step is just deciding, where can I even find the information? Step 2, which of those am I actually going to prioritise? Because if you decide, actually, if I ask my mates and they've got a recommendation, I'll probably just go straight there. But it might be, well, I'll Google it, and then if I don't find a company that I like the sound of, then I'll do that. So you've got that as your first layer. Then once you've negotiated that stage of the process and you've maybe got 2 or 3 firms in mind, then you've got to fill in the contact form online or ping them a message on Facebook, maybe phone them. I know it seems strange these days, the thought of actually phoning somebody. And it's like the first time you phone, they might not be there, so it needs to go back on the to-do list. You've probably left a message, but you'll think, well, if I don't hear back, I'll follow up. Once you've done all that, got some quotes, then you've got to decide, then you've got to go back to that person and sort of sort out a date. Once you've got that date in mind, you're probably thinking, need to move the big furniture out the way. And actually, if I'm going to move the big furniture, like the bookcase or the cupboard or whatever, that would be a good chance to declutter. So you do that. Then, of course, there's the day itself, you move it, and then you need to move everything back. You can see how that little one line on your to-do list, get carpets cleaned, is actually quite a big project. It's not that any of those steps themselves are huge or scary or challenging, but if you've just got get carpets cleaned on your to-do list, we'll use this to kind of demonstrate what happens is that, I haven't got time to do that now, is one, or I'm not sure what exactly is involved. So if you've got that sort of reaction to anything on your to-do list, what happens when you get to it? You look at it, you read it, you have either of those reactions and you think, I'll come back to it later. Because there are other things on your to-do list which you probably do know how to do, that you can get on with straight away. And when you've got an overwhelming to-do list, your primary drive tends to be, I want to make it shorter, I want to make it shorter, I want to make it shorter. Taking a moment to stand still, to reflect and work out what needs doing doesn't feel like you're doing anything. You're not in motion, you're not in action. So you move on to something where you can be busy, where you can be doing stuff. Might not be as important or impactful or urgent as the thing that you've just skimmed past, but at least you're doing something. So obviously we need to, the more you skip past it, the bigger it becomes in your mind. So the more likely it is the next time you get to it that you'll kind of go, it's been lurking there, as Emma says, for weeks. It must be really big. And so you're kind of waiting on knowing what to do and waiting on a big enough chunk of time to do the project. But I don't know about you, I generally speaking don't have big chunks of time magically open up in my day. If I want big chunks of time, I have to make them. But if I don't know what's involved with the project, then I probably won't make the time for it. But also going back to this specific example, very often you don't need big chunks of time. Actually, when you look at all the sub-tasks, it's really easy to break that down and find little chunks of time to do little bits of it each day. So there's quite a few of you here now. Do say hi, let me know if this is resonating with you. Can you think, and I'd love some examples, of things that have been sitting on your to-do list for a while that actually, when you think of it, it's a project. It's not just here's, phone the dentist, bang, done. It's actually something that has several steps to it, and you're waiting on this day where you'll be able to do all the steps in one go, which A, might not be realistic, and B, might not actually be the best way of doing the project. So again, giving this really mundane example of the carpet cleaning, you're probably thinking, oh, it's got quite a lot of steps, I need a chunk of time, but actually it's better off chunked up, because if you ask your mates for a recommendation, whether you text them, Facebook, phone them, whatever, you're unlikely to get the answer back in the next 30 seconds. It's more a case of, well, today I'll ping out a few friends, and over the next 24 hours I'll get a few answers back. Then tomorrow I can Google ones that I got the references on, and even if I contact those firms, they're probably out busy cleaning carpets. They're not going to answer their phone or respond immediately. So I probably need another 24 hours to wait to see which of them actually get back to me, and so on and so forth. So again, let me just... So Linda, make new wills on my list. This is going to break down very similar. So have you got a solicitor in mind? It might be that you've used a solicitor in the past for a house move, but a little bit of you is kind of saying, oh, do house move solicitors do wills? Or maybe somebody else in their office could do a will. Actually, it's 20 years since you moved house, and the solicitor was quite old at the time. They've probably actually retired. So you get some recommendations from your friends. Then you need to make, phone round, get some quotes. Then you need to make the appointment. And in the meantime, it might be that you're thinking about, what sort of things do I want my will to reflect? Yes, your solicitor is going to make sure you think of angles that you hadn't thought of, but you'll probably want to start thinking ballpark. So it's like, actually, I need 30 minutes to sit down and think about, what are my assets? Who would I like to get? When we got our wills done, they then come up with other questions that I hadn't even thought about it, because this was before I had kids, and they were like, and we were doing it with the anticipation of having kids, and we were thinking, well, our estate will just get split 3 ways. But they go, okay, so what if you have kids and they have kids? What do you want to happen to the estate for the third child? So, because I've got 3. If something happens to them, do you want it to pass to their kid, or does it get reallocated? It was a lot of, if this person dies, what do you want to have? It would, lots of fun conversation. Hi there, Felicia. Your biggest task is so simple as start my book. Yeah, so never written a book, so I'm going to make this up. It might be that whether you're sort of wanting to get it published, you might be thinking about publishers and contacting, or it might be just deciding, am I going to do fiction or non-fiction? Am I going to go away for a week and sort of get a boot camp style start to it? Am I going to commit to writing a certain number of words a day, or writing for a certain amount of time each day? Have I actually looked at when I can put aside that time? Emma, decluttering my bedroom, the place where things go to get sorted later. It's not a huge priority as nobody sees me and the rest of the house is more important. My desk is in my room, so I've been working in the kitchen, which affects I need to make it a priority. So it's breaking it down. It's looking at, is it actually that you need to, it might be that you need to start in the kitchen thinking, okay, here are the things that I want to move up to the bedroom. How much space does that need? How can I make that space up there? and then prioritise that bit first. Or I was thinking, actually, whilst it would be great to tackle it in a whole weekend, realistically, I've got this commitment, that commitment, the other commitment. I keep putting off for the weekend when I have the whole weekend, even though I never have a whole weekend. So it's thinking about, how can I break this down into, well, I'm going to sort this wardrobe or that cupboard or this chest of drawers, etc. So it's too big to do in one go. It may not even suit being done in one go. You may not even have any idea what the steps are. And it's like the Doctor Who monster or the sci-fi monster. When it's off screen, out of sight, your brain imagines all the things it could be. And it's very scary. Once it actually comes on screen, lots of the things that you imagined aren't true, and it's only half as scary. So by thinking through, and that's why you keep putting off, I don't know what's involved, therefore it must be lots of stuff, therefore I'll keep putting off. And even if you do know what's involved, you haven't necessarily thought about, well, how much time do any one of those need? And how can I maybe get one step onto the to-do list? The resistance we have to doing that is very often around the idea of, well, my to-do list is long enough already. If I, instead of having get carpets cleaned, put all those sub-steps on there, that's making my list longer. But it isn't, is it? All those steps were already there, it's just they were up in your head in this big blob that you couldn't quite pinpoint the individual actions on. What you want is, as I say, your to-do list should be the things that you are genuinely going to do over the time frame that you're looking at that to-do list for. So for a lot of us, we want a 24-hour to-do list where you might have a things to do this week to-do list, and as we get better at planning, monthly, 6-monthly, yearly kind of framework. The things that you think, oh, I wish I could, wouldn't it be nice to get this done? That goes on the brain dump. But on the brain dump, you can kind of create little bubbles or mind maps. Depends on how your brain works. So decluttering the bedroom would be this little bubble, or getting the carpets cleaned, or sorting out the will, writing a book. They could go on the brain dump with a little bubble or a little sort of mind map spider web out from it. What goes on the to-do list is the one step you're going to do in that time frame. You might choose 1, 2, 3 steps, so for example, the carpet cleaning depends on how much you break it down, whether you kind of research could be one, where you think, actually, if I spend 45 minutes Googling a bit, asking on Facebook and looking at reviews on Checkatrade, that could all be one. Or it could be that you sort of say, actually, I might do 15 minutes just texting my mates and 15 minutes on Google later in the day. So your first task isn't to actually get on and do the task, which isn't a task, it's a project. Your first task is to look at the project and break it down. Look at the desired outcome, because if you don't know what it is you're trying to achieve, you run the risk of just being stuck in busy work. So Felicia, you like the idea of brain bubbles on your brain dump. Super. And you can get colourful with this. As I say, some people are very visual, some people just like, it's just lists of lists, but at least they're organised lists, and you kind of know, okay, if these two bubbles are my priorities, using where Emma has sort of said, it's not being a priority. If you say this bubble is a priority, I'm going to every day choose one subtask off of there. I'm not going to go into full-on mapping out a plan today, but you do want a rough plan, and all that has to be is a rough order of, this is the logical sequence of steps. As you go through, it will be live and learn. And sometimes you might need to go back a step because you phone 3 carpet cleaners and they all go, yeah, as we're coming out of lockdown, you and everybody else want your carpets cleaned. So either you put that project on the back burner, or you cast your search a bit wider. So Nina, working through an LLP program that changes as tutor keeps adding content to the program, which also a Q&A, and also Wendy practice sessions with another student on the same. So yeah, it's breaking that down into the specific elements that you want to be working on each day. So then, because your desired outcome is to make progress on the project. So it's looking at how you can make a little bit of progress each day. Because very often when you've got these long to-do lists, when you skip over the projects that have a meaningful outcome for the things that are quick and easy to do, they're not outcomes that you particularly value. Also, by breaking the project down, it doesn't waste your brain power with this worry about what's in there, or that mental gymnastics trying to sort of think about it and then hold it in your head. And of course, if the longer it goes on, the more guilty you feel about not doing it. And whilst sometimes there are projects where if you could get 2 days just to knock it out, that would be the most efficient way of doing it. But if those 2 days are never going to appear, wouldn't it be nice if, rather than waiting for 2 days to appear and 3 months later you're still waiting for those 2 days, that you broke it down half an hour a day, and 2 weeks later or 4 weeks later it's done? Might not be quite as efficient, but you have made progress. So that kind of wraps it up today. So love to hear your thoughts. So I'll just try and recap. Writing to-do lists does work if what you are putting on there can be done. If you're writing a wish list of projects, then actually you're not writing a to-do list. You might be calling it a to-do list, but it's not. So you have your to-do list. You have your to lists. You have your brain dump, which might be bubbled or mind mapped, and you have your to-do list. And the to-do lists are things that can be done in the sort of time slots that you genuinely, realistically have. And that it's only by making those little tasks happen that the big project happens. Now, obviously, then it comes into how do you plan your those little steps into your day. But that's something for another. Actually, if you want something like that, let me just signpost you to the free resources page. Oh, I think I might have put it in the link. I've put it in the link, just because usually something I come up with that I chat about is covered by one of the free resources. So the guide to a perfectly planned day in there, if you sign up for that, then as part of the day, it's got 3 meaningful activities right at the top of the page. So that's where you identify your rocks, that your meaningful activities that are going into the day, and that's where you identify the step that you are doing towards those bigger outcomes, that you're doing towards those bigger projects, and you make sure that they go into your day first, and then the life's day-to-day admin can slot in around that. Right, okay, I think let's just check in. So if you have found that useful, it would be lovely if you could hit the like button. Sends Facebook a little message to put it in other people's feeds so that they catch it as well. And obviously, if you know somebody who has a to-do list that keeps shifting forwards, never getting done, that you think is actually got projects on there, why not share this? Point them in this direction. So Felicia, this was a great reminder of what I need to get started on today. Very welcome. Okay, I'm gonna love you and leave you for another week. Let's just have a quick squeeze. Oh, I'm going to say next week is all around perfectionism, but I know we rejigged the orders slightly, I'm fairly sure. So, perfectionism or procrastination? We're going to be looking a little bit at those. So, if that sounds like something that you find a bit of a challenge, make sure you're back here same time, same place next week. Bye for now.